Netflix's sparkly, spunky young adult series Mismatched has grown on me over the years. It's easy to be cynical and dismissive of the hormonally charged coming of age teen drama and its glossy, surface level look at the messy intersection between identity, desire, and technology. But considering the often dull, unexciting storytelling that gets passed around in the name of young adult shows these days, at least this one is well packaged, has personality, and its heart in the right place. Mismatched is like that overexcited enthu young colleague at the office who probably handles social media, who was initially irritating and loud but in time won you over and started to feel endearing and sweet. You come to admire the colorful quirks and extraness. The Netflix series isn't looking to be particularly deep or substantial as much as it is looking to tackle an assorted platter of youth's issues like sexuality, insecurity, mental health, and self-acceptance with gentleness and empathy. And there's an honesty to that. There's a refreshing sense of reinvention and switching things up in this third chapter. It's been 3 years since the events of last season. The action has shifted from the 3-month app-making course in Jaipur to a prestigious technology institute in Hyderabad called NNIT, where Rishi, played by Rohit Saraf, Anmol, played by Taruk Raina, Krish, played by Abhinav Sharma, and Selena, played by Muskan Jaffrey, are now all students. Well, I say students, but they feel more like employees working for the college dean, Nandini Nahata, played by Dipannata Sharma, to build something called the Betterverse, a cutting-edge virtual reality social media platform, which is the show's equivalent of Facebook's Metaverse, which, yes, is just as unsettling as it sounds, but more on that later. Dimple, played by Prajakta Koli, on the other hand, feels stuck. After failing to get into NNIT like her friends, she's crippled by rejection and coasting through online courses while maintaining her long-distance relationship with Rishi. That is until Sid Sir, played by Ranvijay, decides to open his own institute literally next door to NNIT, which he calls LLIT. Season 3 then works as a solid drinking game. Drink every time a character says NNIT or LLIT. There's also an obvious Long Island iced tea joke in here somewhere, but I can't seem to find it. It's been a really long year. Anyway, the point is Dimple, Rishi and the whole gang are all back together again, along with plenty of new faces, thus setting the stage for a fresh wave of overlapping, interlocking, dating, unlikely friendships, tiffs, scuffles, hookups, heartache, and heartbreak. Season 3 greatly benefits from writers Ghazal Daliwal, Arsh Vora, Sunaina Kumari, Nandini Gupta, and Akshay Jhunjhunwala choosing to spread their bets and cast a wider net, bringing in a sea of new characters and coming-of-age conflicts. It's a smart move that plays to the show's strengths, to go wider and not deeper. The lack of narrative focus also works well considering the central Dimple and Rishi love story just isn't interesting or deeply felt enough to anchor 3 seasons of a show. At this point, it's less will they, won't they, and more will they just get on with it and pick a lane already. Despite the enduring earnestness and charm of lead pair Rohit Saraf and Prajakta Koli, Rishi and Dimple are far more interesting apart as individuals than they are together. At its pacey, breezy best, this third season of Mismatched is another fizzy, frothy factory line of cutesy, well-intentioned, well-packaged sketches, skits, montages, and music videos. A queer pride party here, a speed dating event there, a romantic date involving booking out an entire arcade for your girlfriend here, a college play about love that allows students to confess their real feelings there, a student debate that allows quarreling friends to hash it out in public here, a student protest against a sexual predator professor there. Mismatched works best when it pleasantly probes trending hashtags and young adult trials about love, sex, attraction, mental health, body image, and identity in its quest to be India's answer to sex education. But in the final few episodes, the focus shifts towards going needlessly big. We get a drastic time jump and numerous plot grenades of grief and major life decisions, where the narrative struggles under the pressure of needing to deliver explosive, life-altering, season-ending drama. Thankfully, the peppy ensemble cast and colorful characters manage to keep things lively, afloat, and endearing. I continue to like the casting of Ranvijay and the natural ease he brings to the paternal Sid Sir, despite the fact that he's now married to Zeenat, played by Vidya Malwade, and the two share a sauceless chemistry that can only be described as sometimes roommates. A charming Garima Rajnik as Anuradha also stands out, as does the inimitable Muskan Jaffrey as Selena, who continues to bring a crackling energy to the series. I love how she makes the lines her own. Unfortunately, not all the characters manage to have the intended impact. One of the new additions this season is Rith, played by sincere Lauren Robinson. Rith is trans and identifies as a man. While it's well-intentioned and sensitively handled, Ritz is a convoluted and overwritten arc. He's a hacker who somehow gets access to the Betterverse's weakened firewall so he can get admission to NNIT so he can access a VR world where he can be who he truly wants to be. Throw in a romantic relationship that comes out of nowhere, all of which ends in a blur of betrayal, bullies, VR worlds, viruses and malware, and I wanted to lie down. Speaking of which, Mismatched entire relationship with technology is very creepy and unsettling because it isn't. In the world of the show, technology, AI, VR, and social media don't seem to be forces for harm to our heads and hearts, but an oddly wholesome, hopeful means to become your best self. These kids really need to watch Control and get a reality check. I also continue to struggle with the show's structure of every episode being narrated by a generic voiceover from a different character, even though the episode doesn't focus any further on that particular character's story. The voice keeps changing, but the perspective never does. The fact also remains that many of the core themes tackled in Mismatched have been dealt with more depth and care elsewhere, ironically on other Netflix projects. Control and Kho Gaye Hum Kahan for the dangers of social media on young minds. Quota Factory for grief and the ethics of education. Little Things for a mature, thoughtful look at the challenges of maintaining a committed relationship and what happens after happily ever after. Still, there's something to be said about Mismatched's kind, cutesy, crowd-pleasing pleasantness, where complex conflicts can be neatly, snackably wrapped up and resolved with a single confrontation. To see the crushing weight of the world simplified and distilled down into neatly packaged, easy-to-digest tidbits and moments, it's a hopeful thought. Maybe a single wholesome monologue or cozy conversation really can save the day and make it all okay again. You can watch Mismatched Season 3 on Netflix. For more reviews like this one, subscribe to The Hollywood Reporter India.